Hello, this is Stitchy Witchy Bee. I'm Bee. My pronouns are she, her. Today's date is, I'm saying it's January 31st, but because it's after midnight, it's technically February 1st. Welcome and thank you for stopping by. This is a channel about and for cross-stitching. I'm going to be going over my works in progress, or WIPs, for the month of January, and after I will be discussing my overall progress on my monthly goals before leading into plans for February. And I debated when to kind of talk about this, but it was either at the end where it felt uncomfortably like an afterthought, or now where there'd be some wild tonal swings. And I did choose tonal swings. The past couple of weeks have just been really difficult, really dark, frustrating, upsetting. I know I've felt powerless and a lot of feelings about everything. I've also occasionally felt really guilty about wanting to stitch. It felt almost too light, I guess, for lack of a better word, and kind of frivolous, but ultimately I think we need that light. We need it to balance out the dark and the fear and everything that's going on. And maybe that's just me rationalizing, I don't know. Maybe it's trying to help myself so I don't feel guilty anymore, or like I'm trying to justify enjoying my hobbies even when bad things are happening. But I really do think that one of the best things we can do in situations like this is to not get so overwhelmed that we don't create. We need to engage in things that spark our imagination and bring us together with other people. One of the goals of acts like those happening in Minneapolis is to divide and demoralize people. I'm still angry and upset, but I've been trying to balance spending my energy on engaging with the art that is in creative endeavors like these, and on calling politicians, spreading the word about different ways to help. To that end, there are going to be just a couple of links, or at least some information in the description for actions you can take and things you can do if you're feeling directionless. But I will cut myself off here with that, and we can take the other wild tonal swing back into cross stitch, and we'll get into my WIPs for the month. To remind return friends and let new ones know, I have big goals for 2026. I started out the year with 109 WIPs, and I hope to work on 9 unique projects each month so that I get a little bit of stitching in on every single one of them, focusing on finishing at least 3 projects each month, and put in 500 to 1,000 stitches minimum on the projects I've kind of labeled extra large, which means that they have 50,000 stitches or more on them. This month I not only hit every goal, but really went above and beyond. Part of it was, stitching through my feelings. Part of it was feeling really motivated to achieve these goals. It's January, the motivation's high. And part of it was honestly having a few days where I felt really sick and couldn't do much other than stitch. And to give credit where it's due, I'm also working on improving my ADHD medication, and I think it's actually working. So that also helped a bit with where my stitch count is. Okay, I do have 2 finishes I want to start with. One of them is, I showed my finish for the Book of Fabled Fungi 2 weeks ago, and now I have the Book of Psychic Reading. There we go. This was a pattern by Haunted Frames and was completed on 18 Count Gray Magic by BeStitchMe, using, I believe, the called for floss or something I had from Stash. I had 1,860 stitches left to do on it, and all of the back stitch, which I did get done. And then I also got an even bigger project done. It is kind of large, so I am going to try to show all of it. I'm going to have to move. I have something to try to help with the lighting, and I'm going to have to move it, I think, so I apologize about the noise. Okay, that wasn't too bad. Oh, still won't all quite fit, so we'll do this in pieces. Like I said, this is called History Witches. It's by, or I think it's History Witches 2. It's by The Little Stitcher, and it was done on a 14 count Ada that I tea-dyed myself using the called for DMC. Let me keep moving it. up because there is a bit more. When I started the month, I still had 11,291 stitches to do, along with thankfully minimal backstitch. There really wasn't a whole lot to this. And I got it done much faster and more quickly than I ever expected to. This was an actual dream to stitch. Very intuitive pattern to complete, very, very nice. When it was released, it came out as a stitch along or a SAL, with one witch and her story being sent out every week in October of 2024. And that is the third, because again I showed the other one in my last video. This is the third of 3 finishes for January. Alright, and I said last video that I hoped I'd have a lot fewer projects this time around, because I'd already put a lot of work into most of my projects for the month, but I may have gone in and worked on pretty much all of them again. So I will try to get through this as quickly as possible. Some of them should be pretty brief anyway. At least it's the hope. The first one I got a bit more progress in on was Cups. This is a tarot-related stitch-along by the Witchy Stitcher on fabric by the Witchy Stitcher. This is being done on 14 count Sparkly Mermaid Dreams. Mostly I've just been working more on some of the outlines for the cards here, and this is not showing the color properly. Let me... Yeah, that's better. So I just got some more of the outline done. Worked a bit more on some of these cups up here. I brought them up. I did a total for the whole month of 507 stitches. And I have some really horrible screen grabs from my last video. The quality was so bad. But I will, unless it's truly so horrible it won't do any good, I will try to put it up just to help indicate, you know, what I got done in the last 2 weeks on things. Then I got more work on this month's extra large project, which is called Dance La Bibliothèque, or In the Library. It is artwork by Auguste Toulmouche, and I got the pattern from Diana70 on Etsy. I'm doing this on a 22 count white hardanger with the called for DMC in 1 strand full cross. And though I initially started doing it in diagonals, you can still see some of that here. I have moved out to do vaguely page finishes without being super strict. Like, I think this is technically like 1 1/3 pages down, and this is roughly where the page will end on the side. I think last month I had done some of this. I did clean up. I did some of my stitches wrong. I just kind of cleaned up on the pattern what I completed, because a lot of them are very similar colors. I don't think it'll be a huge deal. And I ended up doing a lot in here as well. So right here is where there's a globe. I got kind of down to that point. Now I'm just working my way back left. And I did 2,259 stitches on this month. This next project is, I Put a Spell on You. It was a stitch along by Olivia Lee Studios. They have a lot of stitch alongs using like classic 80s and 90s movies. I actually restarted this on, I believe it's 18 count Pistachio by Fiber on a Whim. Yes. And I got right up to exactly 500 stitches on it. Sorry. As I showed in the last video, it's a very long piece of, like, long, you know, horizontally piece of fabric. So I was trying to get that to cooperate. So I finished more of this tombstone. I'm pretty sure this is going to be for a Billy Butcher. A bit of grass that'll come down up to here. And I was mostly trying to work my way down to this border, because this is going to surround the entire thing and will let me have more fun kind of back and forth, pick and choose where I want to work on next from here. But yeah, I did exactly 500 stitches on this. Next I'm going to show Monster House by Satsuma Street. This is one of the few reasons I kind of do want to see if the quality of the screen cap is good, because I put in a lot more in the last 2 weeks. Why? Could not begin to tell you. Okay. Let's see how much of this will fit in camera. Not quite enough of it. That's okay. So this is, like I said, Monster House by Satsuma Street. I'm doing this on 18 count Velt by Picture This Plus. This is a larger project that I hope to finish later this year. So that was part of why I kind of let myself go nuts with working on it and getting more done. And it was honestly, I don't know, this pattern is just really, really fun to work on. When I do work on it, I tend to binge because it's just really, really delightful. And this is not quite showing the fabric very well. There we go. A lot of kind of splotchy, like almost mossy greens and tans. I did 2,422 stitches this month toward it, which leaves me with just over 7,800 stitches to finish later in the year, since I did, like I said, want to finish this. I am doing this with glow-in-the-dark white for all of the white in the pattern. I'm hoping it'll work. I haven't really tested it yet, but even if it doesn't work, it'll be fine. It's been pretty easy to use so far. It hasn't been too difficult, but I also haven't used it much yet, so that might change. Who knows? I also continued more of the shelves on the Morbid Curiosities stitch along pattern. There we go. So I finished off this kind of large shelf here and worked my way up here. I'm doing this, Morbid Curiosities cabinet by the Stitch Crypt. This is on 20 count Pink Chocolate by BeStitchMe, which again is not wanting to cooperate color-wise. There we go. I put in just right around 500 stitches on it to, like, so I kind of finish this shelf here and come up here. I am tempted right now to work on some of the objects here just to help guide my way along, but we'll see. There's a tiny bit more space here for the edge of the actual cabinet. So this is not the side of it yet, but it's not too far off. After that, I worked some more on Ripe Apples by Owlforce Embroidery. This was one of the Whipco pulls and did quote-unquote require a new start, which I was not at all upset about. There we go. I just did a center start on this one for ease. I'm doing this on 18 count Walnut by Witch's Garden Crafts. The floss is all from Owlforce, and it's going to look really, really pretty on this, I think. I finally got them properly onto their floss drops, so hopefully I can show. And I will grab the whiteboard here in a moment just to better help with the color. There we go. I did 509 stitches on this to get it started, and I followed through on some of those motifs off of the center bit here, because this will get me basically to the edges of the pattern. I'll be able to work my way off of there a little bit more easily if I want to. I really, really love this variegation in the floss. I, for the most part, didn't do fussy cutting except for one little area, just to kind of follow through on where it was, but I wasn't stressing over it too much. I also got quite a bit of progress in on Study of Skulls, which is the other kind of larger project I'm hoping to finish by the end of the year. Oh, this is not showing it well at all. I'll get the board here in just a second. This is Study of Skulls by the Stitch Crypt. It was also a stitch along when it came out. I'm doing this on an 18 count Aida that I hand dyed myself using the wine liquid Rit dye. There we go. That's accurate. And I did this, I tried to find the placing of more skulls. I think there's 2 or 3 more still to be placed. I added this a lot of the shelf. I think there's quite a bit more here. You can't see some of this too well. Once I add more details, it'll be more visible, but I'm trying to remember if I completed a couple colors or just got close to it, I think, with this. But I was really enjoying working on it. I did 1,705 stitches on it, leaving myself with just under 9,000 to complete later in the year. And then lastly, I got some more frames done on the Major Arcana Stitch Along by Witch's Garden Crafts. I talked about some issues I was having that I have found a solution for. I'm very, very happy. Let's see. Oh, that's good. Okay. So I'd kind of come over to here. I did a little bit more of the boxes. I finished out the word tarot at the top. Oh, sorry, I keep interrupting myself. I'm so sorry. This is the Major Arcana Tarot Stitch Along by the Witch's Garden Crafts. This is being done on 18 count Dark and Stormy by Witch's Garden Crafts with the called for DMC. I was using 2 strands of black just to get a nice solid coverage, but the way that Witch's Garden Crafts dyes their fabric, and this is not a complaint. I mentioned it last time, I'm going to say it again. It's not a complaint, it's just something to be aware of. When they dye their fabric, it really reduces the size of the holes in the fabric for Aida. Really kind of compresses everything. So 2 strands is honestly pretty difficult to do on it. And it was kind of wearing out my hands. I was having a hard time wanting to put a lot of time into it. But what I ended up doing was a test with just 1 strand of Sulky. And it was much easier on my hands to do. It was much nicer to do with that. And I honestly couldn't tell you exactly where I stopped and started with it. I think it blends amazingly well. I have 0 complaints about it. So I will be doing the rest of the black with just black Sulky instead of DMC 310. Because I can do 1 strand and have it look like 2. Let's see. I did 1,219 stitches this month on it because I was having such an easier time once I got going with it. Okay, so this is going to go kind of in a little bit of a weird order. I'm going to mention something planning related, talk about 1 more project, and then head properly into stats and plans for the month of February, including, but not limited, to a very, very abridged version of Mylstonn Manor that I hope to use as a small, very chill, cannot emphasize that enough, add-on to my already very stacked goals. So while I've figured out a lot with my finishes and progress on my whips and everything, I hadn't really figured out how I wanted to handle new projects, other than knowing that I didn't want to start any until I'd gotten below 100. Obviously, that's already a little bit off, but if I just kept starting one when I'd gotten down to 98, then I'm never really bringing my total down. And I was worried I'd keep forgetting about projects I really do like, because one of the things you hear all the time when people are doing their whip parades are, oh, I really like this one. Oh, I really like this one. And they do. It's just, especially, I mean, I have ADHD, and there's very much a, if you can't see it, then it doesn't exist thing. And so really, the plans I currently have to constantly circulate my things out month by month is great to help with that. But I'm also, I am trying to reduce. However, I do want also something to look forward to because I enjoy starting new things. I think I mentioned in one video I have like 40 or 45 that are they're kitted up, they're ready to go. I can start them at any, well, if I let myself, I could start any of them at any time. I'll put it that way. So I've decided that for every 5 finishes that I do, I can start something new from stash. So it would be one of those lists that's already kitted up and ready to go. I cheated a little bit and pulled my 7 finishes from December in with the 3 that I just finished this month to give myself room for 2. One spot will cover ripe apples because I started that for Whipco. And the other is for a start along that I saw on Instagram. For anything else, the only time I'm allowing myself to start something new is if I know for certain that I'll be able to finish it the same month that I start it. I have to prioritize to make sure that that happens. Regarding the Instagram stitch along, a Kansas City girl in a Colorado world mentioned that she wanted to do a birthday start using I Like Cross Stitch by JetX Stitch. She invited other people to join in, and I haven't done any of JetX Stitch's patterns yet, but I've really wanted to. So I went ahead and pulled things together from stash. I pestered some of my stitchy friends about the color palette I was using and begged for help with it. And I put in 540 stitches on it so far. Let me get that out. I'm excited about my color palette. It's both very similar but also very different from things I've done before. I am doing an entire recolor of the pattern. So not even just like replacing one color with another. I'm totally redoing the palette. I will need to get my whiteboard out here in a moment. This is, oh wow, I didn't even, I'm so sorry. I did not make a note in the proper spot on that. 1 second. This is on 18 Count Shadow by Picture This Plus. That's what it is. I'm doing kind of the central motif. There we go. At the moment, this is the only DMC I'm using, 3847. And then here's most of my other color palette. I will be adding in a white or a cream at some point. I just don't know yet which one. I haven't gotten that far. It's a lot of kind of fun flosses I have from some of the overdyed dyers that I love. A lot will be playing into things using this Night Stalker's Calling. Like that's where I'm getting a lot of the inspiration for the color palette. I will be honest. Okay, I'm running out of space. I've done this myself. So this is the color palette, and then, like I said, some white or cream or something that kind of works with all of this. I've got, I want to say, 85% of my color reworkings. There's going to be a few that are just kind of like little motifs that will be a little bit more interesting to bring in. Hopefully this is getting all the colors nicely. I'm very excited about, one, just seeing if my ideas for the recoloring will work. That's big. And then also just, you know, seeing how these colors go, seeing how the pattern comes together. Okay. Alright, sorry, I had to pause for a moment to sneeze and make a bunch of crinkling noises. So here are my official stats and progress for the month. I'll get a screen cap put up on the screen for that. I accomplished all of my stitching goals and then some. Honestly, this was the best stitching month I've had since I started tracking in August of 2024. Like I said, I attribute that to a lot of things, but you know, whatever the reasons are, I'm really, really proud of myself, really impressed. But I also am extremely aware that I will not be able to repeat that kind of progress this year. Like, this is unprecedented. In that vein, I have what I hope are much more manageable goals for each month, or for next month, even with what seems like a large number of finishes, or larger number. Okay, so the extra large project I'm going to work on is Among Shadows and Branches. Here's where I will be starting from for February. This is a pattern by Thread Geeks based off of artwork by Chrisabug. Sadly, they did retire all of their Chrisabug patterns at the end of 2025. But this is where I'll be starting from. And then the 4 finishes I'm hoping to do. This one is almost done. I think I have less than 700 stitches left on it. So this will probably be the first goal that I work toward. Is I Want to Have Your Rabies. This is a pattern by the Witchy Stitcher. There's basically just a little bit on the sides here to do. I'll talk more about all of the fabric details and everything once we get into it. And the other 3 finishes are also going to be restarts, but I had less than 100 stitches on each of them, so I will kind of go over those. One of them, and most of these are also Witchy Stitcher patterns. Purely coincidental. This is Karamia and Monshare, or Monshare and Karamia by Witchy Stitcher. I was doing this on, I think this is 28 count dragon fruit. I'm going to be restarting it on this 18 count raspberry by Fiber on a Whim. I'm accepting how much I dislike linen and trying to be kind to myself by just letting myself restart things on Aida or Even Weave. One of the other restarts is, Ghostface Valentine, which I'm doing kind of in reverse. It was being done, or the original pattern was, I think, reds and pinks on black. I started it on a 28 count Phoenix by Picture This Plus. Which is beautiful, beautiful linen. Please do not misunderstand me. But I will be restarting it on this Witch's Garden Crafts 18 count called Ardor, which is also lovely, very beautiful. And then the third restart was a pattern by, where is it? Samplers Not Forgotten. I think it's a little pillow pin keep, or that's what it was intended to be. I did do a kind of recoloring of it, and I will be restarting it off of linen onto Even Weave because it has a bunch of over 1 stitches. But this was my start, and I will be restarting it on this 32 count Frankenstein. So that'll be a pretty okay mix. I'm a little nervous about the over 1 text, but I think I'll be okay. I've also fussed a little bit with the exact colors, but that's minor stuff, not super important. We'll get there. We'll see how it all turns out in the end. And then the Whip Go pulls for February were for a project with Pirate and Robin Floss. I will be doing the coffee sampler. It's the only project I couldn't lay my hands on immediately. I'm pretty sure I can find it pretty easily, but for now I'll just put a picture from my whip parade of where I was. This is Coffee Sampler by Happy Mood Point. And then the other Whipco pull was something involving cryptids. And when I put that on there, I genuinely thought I already had a project that involved them, but I do not. So this is where that caveat about new starts comes in. I found a pattern I already had in Stash. I can pull colors from Stash. It's a little bit over 2,500 stitches, nothing crazy. So I do feel confident that I can start and finish it same month. It is based on the Fresno Nightcrawler, which are sort of sentient pants, I think is the best way that I've heard people describe them. I'll put some pictures up here about them. And the pattern is absolutely cursed in the best of ways. It's sort of based on, there's all these like cursed Furby things that people have done. So it's a combination of the Fresno Nightcrawler and Furbies. And it's called the Furbo Nightcrawler by Night Spirit Studio. Like I said, I can do this entirely from Stash. I'm not too worried about that. And then a couple of the other projects to bring me up to 9. I'm going to work more on... Oh, come on. Yes, this is the right one. I'm going to work more on Common Buckeye from Carolyn Manning, which is just being done on 14 count cream Ada, and my restart of Karamia by Witch's Garden Crafts. I'll put the pattern up. I don't think I have my original anymore, but I'm doing that on this really, really pretty, kind of a weird name for it, Vintage Red Very Dark. And it is very dark. It's beautiful. I'm going to do that with, sorry for the crinkling, this Minerva by Oblong Meow. I think it's going to look absolutely stunning. And those are my projects for next month. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about my take on Mylstonn Manor. Ever since I heard about the game, which is by Jessie Marie Does Stuff, I'll see if I can link to her channel here, both in the video, and I definitely will below. Ever since I heard about it, it sounded really interesting, but because I have such specific goals for the year, I couldn't really figure out a way to make it work with them. But I kept thinking about the game, and then I saw a video where Lori Millsap from Island Time Stitching was talking about how much fun she'd been having with it and how much progress she'd made thanks to it. And that really just kind of kicked me into gear again of wanting to work on it. So I spent some time to figure out how to make it work for me instead of against me. So I would definitely recommend checking out the original video that Jessie Marie does on it, because my version is going to be very, very little like hers. It's going to be extremely abridged, a shadow of the former thing. But again, this is the best way I could think of to get something that would work for me without disrupting my other stuff. And it'll still be really relaxed in comparison to my other goals. So I've told people before that if a game takes longer than like 3 minutes to explain, my brain just shuts off. I do not have the intelligence or mental capacity to really grasp a game unless it's a little bit more simplified than that. So hopefully this won't make me a hypocrite. The core concept of Mylstonn Manor is a game to focus on milestones toward project completion. That's the whole central concept for it. I'm using it to focus specifically on the Christmas patterns I have, started by X Cross Stitch Pattern X, as well as a freebie Christmas pattern by the Artsy Housewife called Winter Wonderland. So that's 15 patterns to work with, and all of the patterns have the same milestones. They are each 4 pages. I can do color completions on them, and I can hit, 25, 50, 75% complete. For my game, I am just starting with one project. And to kind of simplify things a little bit, I did try to write this down to see if that would help with visualizing at all. I will start out with 6 hit points and 0 experience points. I'm going to personally roll a D8, an 8-sided die. which you can do just by Googling, you know, roll a d8 or an 8-sided die. But you can do any dice. The world is your oyster. You can randomize this. You can do this however you want. It's just, for me, I'm doing an d8. Could be a d6, could be a d12, anything. And I'm assigning a number of stitches in the hundreds to whatever I roll. So if I roll a 2, 200 stitches. If I roll an 8, 800 stitches. You get the idea. Once I do my stitches, I look at my stats to see if I accomplished any of the milestones. Did I complete any colors? Did I complete a page? Did I hit one of those percentages? If I did, I'll get an experience point. If I didn't, better luck next time. I'm going to be using the hit points to keep stakes going in the game. In the game that Jessie Marie Does Stuff did, she kind of fights the projects each round. So I will be rolling a 20-sided dice twice. The first roll is my roll. The second one is what I have to beat. If my roll is higher, so like a 14 versus a 6, great. I do not take any damage. I don't have to worry about anything. If my roll is lower, then I will lose a hit point. After that, I will roll my d8 again and continue forward to do another however many stitches, evaluate milestones, fight against the project again, quote unquote, move forward again and again. Until I either finish the project or run out of hit points. If I do run out, I lose any experience points I have, and I have to switch to a different project. If I finish a project, then I can move on to one of my other whips that's related to this, and I can carry over my experience points to the project and refill my hit points. Now for the incentives. If I reach 10 experience points, I earn an additional hit point to my overall total, and I can get a little treat. Something that's under $10. So like the next time I go out, I can get coffee or fries from McDonald's or a hand-dyed floss, you know. I can save up those little treats if I want and quote unquote spend several at a time. I can, you know, however I want to do that is good. If I finish an entire project, I earn a bigger treat, something worth up to about $25. This could be, you know, food from a local restaurant, going to see a movie in theaters, a game on Steam, hand-dyed fabric, you know, however I want to use that. And those can also be saved up. If I complete 5 projects, so similar to being able to start something new, just like with any other 5, but this time I can actually not just shop from my stash, but I can fully kit up something, and purchase new things for it if I so desire. So I can purchase a new pattern and, you know, flosses for it, fabric for it, however I want to do that. But that'll be my reward for this specific batch of every 5 things finished. This has absolutely no time limits or expectations on it. Some months I may only get 1 roll of the dice in, take the whole month to do those stitches. Some months I may get more. Whatever progress I make with this is going to be very helpful in the overall total, especially for a lot of these holiday related ones that I might not pull out again until, you know, November or December otherwise. None of these projects have over 8,000 stitches. I think they're all a bit, you know, quote unquote smaller. So I'm hoping I can actually get through a few of them this year, this way specifically. And the first project that I am going to work on, which I just did a randomizer for, is Folk Christmas Fox, which I do have right here, just to see where I'm starting from. And this, I think, only has 5 or 6 colors, so it should be theoretically quick to do. But this is where I am starting. I've got one of the foxes. And most of these, with the exception of the Artsy Housewife one, they're all round. They're all kind of like large ornaments almost. And I am currently at 13.05% of the way done on this. Now, again, I'll talk a little bit more about fabrics and everything with this once we actually get into any progress for the month. But that's it for this video. It was not at all shorter than the one mid-month. In fact, I think it might be longer, so I do apologize for that. If you stuck around for this entire video, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate you. I don't know, I mean, guaranteed, no matter what, I will be posting again at the end of the month, each month. That's something I'm going to work really hard at. Whether or not I post mid-month just kind of depends on how that month is going stitching-wise. Have I done enough to justify it? Am I going to try to cut down on the length of the video at the end of the month like I attempted to do on this one and did not succeed? We'll see. It would be nice to, but I can guarantee at least one video a month. That I feel pretty confident about. Yes, that's where we are with this. In the meantime, though, try to remember to get enough water, stay safe, take your meds today if you haven't yet, and focus on what makes you happy. I'll see you guys next time.